All right, so tonight we have a really fun New World tasting. Sometimes we throw in New World bottles into other tastings, but we rarely do a tasting that just focuses on New World. And New World, for those that don't know, is any country making whiskey that's not one of your kind of old school whiskey making countries. So you have Scotland, Ireland, the US, Japan. Those are kind of the old world in whiskey making. And then you have the new world, which is all of the other countries in Europe, all around the world, Australia, other parts of Asia, India, you name it. So as we all know, the shop, First Fill Spirits, we're really excited about New World. We always try and bring in some of the exciting new countries that are making whiskey. We've had some South Korean whiskey in before. We have a lot of different things going on right now, but we're starting to see England specifically really take off in that new world kind of category. Obviously, they're just right there next to Scotland and Ireland. They have everything that those countries have in terms of barley and water and climate. So it's a natural given that they should be making whiskey. And it's kind of surprising that they took so long, to tell you the truth. I mean, there's a lot of really great whiskey up in Scotland, obviously, so maybe they just didn't need to, but I'm really kind of surprised that it took them as long as it did. Tonight, we're doing 3 different distilleries from England, which will be great. And then we're doing 1 distillery out of Sweden, but 3 different expressions from that distillery. So there's not a lot in Sweden right now in terms of distilleries. So we're gonna see how these compare and who wins. We're gonna have a little bit of a competition tonight, a little bit of a World Cup match tonight, and we're kind of going zigzag. So we'll start actually with Sweden, go to England, then back to Sweden, England, Sweden, England. And see kind of how it ends up. But the distillery in Sweden is where we're going to start tonight. And I do have a video I'd like to play of that because it's actually a very beautiful place that they're located in. But this distillery, and I'm going to actually go ahead and share my screen already here. Let's see. I'm not sitting right in front of my computer, so I have to get a little innovative here. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so this distillery is now called High Coast, but it was initially called Box, B-O-X. And that's how I first learned about this distillery. So they started actually back in 2007, so quite a while ago. Similar to kind of like the whole Stauning thing in Denmark. It was a group of friends that got together and started making whiskey, which seems to be kind of a theme in the New World role a little bit, as we're seeing that around Europe. But they did take their inspiration from kind of some of the Japanese and Islay distilleries. The stills are very similar to Kilchoman stills on Islay in shape and size. And then in like Japanese distilleries, they actually use a very clear wort to deliver a lot of fruity flavors. So with High Coast, you're going to get more of a fruity component than you're going to get with some other distilleries. They also recirculate the first part of the wort, which is interesting. And then let's see what else is. And then when it comes to their fermentation, they actually use a French distillery yeast that also gives a fruity ester. So we do see that kind of common theme with Box and High Coast. They're into the kind of fruity side of whiskey. Let's see here, what else is of interest? Let's see here, their first cut off the still is only done at 13 minutes. Second cut, which is about 67%, occurs earlier than other distilleries. And let's see, and then they mature in lots of different woods. And that's something that we really start to see a lot in New World. We see a lot of different oak being used in New World. Okay, so with this first whiskey, this is called the High Coast Berg. This is the bottle right here. We're going to play this video so that you can see this here. My computer is acting a little slow, so just give me a second here.
Charles, they tend to be young. Is it a young distillery?
Actually, some of their stuff now is quite old.
You said they started in 07?
Two of what we're drinking tonight is 7 years old, so not too young. But here, let me see if I can play this video that was down here at the bottom. Give me 1 second here. Here we go.
Har ursprung en ton. Har platser en förnimbar smak. Är ambition någonsin med?
Oops.
Kan den svåra vägen vara den allra enklaste? Fylla flaskan med tid. Har noggrannhet och kunskap en doft. Att ta med sig det norrländska. Avstånd egentligen bara början på närhet och vänskap. Här uppe tror vi det.
All right, there we go. I'm going to stop the share here. We can see everybody again. We're going to start off with Sweden. This one is the Berg. This is 50% ABV. This particular bottling is matured in first fill American oak, and then it's finished in Spanish oak. So we're obviously getting the sherry from the Spanish oak. So let's go ahead and taste this one.
Charles, if it's Spanish oak, then it was used for sherry?
Yes. They don't say exactly what type of sherry.
But you definitely.
But it was sherry rather than red wine or anything else.
I believe so, yes.
Okay,
I'm just pulling
thank
up my notes here.
Some nuttyish brown sugar in getting out and let it sit for a bit.
It's kind of definitely some pepperiness to it.
Okay, so here we go.
And it mellows like it's hot.
Yeah, so it's actually and it's first in first fill ex bourbon, and then it's finished in Spanish oak Pedro Jimenez sherry.
Oh, okay.
And the finish is anywhere from 6 months to 2 years.
Pedro Jimenez is spicy.
Yeah.
I'm getting a lot of mint, big mint, like I brushed my teeth with. That's kind of mint.
That nutty.
Little spice and a lot of sweet.
Yeah.
Very nice.
And mint on the nose.
Mint on the nose.
This is good.
It's a Pisces.
You could sip that a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love the color. Love the color.
Pour it on vanilla ice cream.
Vanilla ice cream. Pour it on top.
Yeah, these are the first two whiskeys are the only ones that are available actually for purchase. But this first one it's actually the really reasonable. It's only $65.99. So it's
50%.
for a 50% ABV Swedish
I like it.
really beautiful whiskey. That's
Really,
not a bad price.
really.
And this one's an NAS.
Hmm.
Rindalin.
Yeah, there's no age statement.
Lingering is something that you could say if you want it to be
Very
light.
very
I'm
nice.
not getting the sherry.
Got some legs on this, coats the glass.
So what I want you guys to keep in mind as we taste this first one is, we're scoring these in a way, right? Because this is a competition. So, just keep that in mind as
So
you're
what are we
going along.
scoring?
What's that?
What are we scoring? The one we like the most?
No, you're scoring Sweden versus England.
Oh,
So
I'm scoring
we're
them all.
starting with Sweden.
It's
I'm gonna
1-0.
wait- I'm gonna wait till the end to score.
It's 1-0. It's 1-0 already.
Like normal.
Which one did you start with?
What I'm doing.
You can ask a question.
Okay. Charles, the difficulty I always have in these competitions is only the referee seems to know how much time is left in the competition.
No referee tonight.
So we're not gonna have any additional
Minutes.
time at the end.
You need to have scores that you lift up, 1 through
Okay.
10. Dancing with the Stars.
Whiskey's
And
with
the Russian judge.
Charles, which ones did you start with?
different things.
Which one did you
What's that?
start? Which one did you start with?
Oh, it's the High
Coast
Coast
Berg.
Berg.
Oh, making sure. Thank you.
Yep.
Are we worried about Holly yet?
No, she's out having fun. That must be what happened.
She's
out-
blowing, she's blowing us off.
No, she was supposed to actually do it from home. She was at a mixer tonight, and she's not back. So
Trying to decide how
Hmm.
probably,
to nose it. What did you get on the nose?
I rooted around.
Okay.
You want to?
No, I do it on. I do it on the phone.
Oh, so those three.
Charles, can I grab a sheet of paper?
yeah.
Just a pad of paper.
Here, why don't you use this?
I love it. Great.
That'll make it easier.
All right. So what we're gonna do? Don't finish the first one yet, or try not to. I know it's
Now you tell us.
Whoops.
the way
Penalty.
that I have these arranged. I'm kind of thinking it's best to look at 1 and 2 first, and then 3 and 4, and then the last two. So they're almost like competing against each other. Yeah. So this is the first match, would be the first two, and I tried to find whiskeys that would have not necessarily the same exact quality, but similar qualities. So this second whiskey, actually, let's take a look at.
I think we have an underage taster.
Yeah.
Was a better than all of us.
All right, I'm going to share a couple of videos on the Lakes Distillery, which is our second whiskey. They're in the Lakes District in England. Very beautiful place. I was there a long time ago. That's where lots of poetry from England comes from, Wordsworth, all of that stuff. So let me just share this again. I have a video somewhere here. Yeah, here we go. So originally the Lakes Distillery was in a very interesting old beautiful I don't even know what kind of building it was, but he'll explain it right here.
This is Oloroso PX and red wine cask. So,
You did your research before the research.
Shoot.
I just read Charles's email.
Yeah, there's an ad, so just hold on. Here we go.
You gotta buy something.
No, we're not buying anything. Oh, here we go.
So where is
Sound on.
Northwestern part of England.
I'm getting like some fried food on this.
Northwest is that way. What's that left to the left?
10 years ago.
Yeah, so this was before they.
So this is the new Lakes Distillery. It's an old Victorian model farm built in the 1860s. You can see there's a fair bit of work to be done, but the building's already here, traditional, and they look fantastic. It took us a long time to find this. We were looking for a good year or two to find the ideal location for where we could produce the Lakes malt, and this is perfect. It's a great situation. We're very near to the River Derwent, which is about 200 yards over there. So that can be the source of all the water to work its magic in terms of creating the Lakes malt. But most importantly, we've got these wonderful buildings, which are a perfect configuration, both for the distillery and for the visitor centre, which we'll have. And we'll have a bar bistro, there'll be a reception shop, a toilet block. So soon this will be transformed. It used to be a dairy farm, but soon it's going to be the Lakes Distillery. We'll be doing lots of things to make sure this is very much a green distillery. We'll have a biomass boiler for the production and for heating the other buildings. We're putting photovoltaics on some of the roofs, the south-facing roofs. We'll have wool insulation, local wool, and we'll be recycling heat and water as much as we can to minimize the energy we use. So this really will be an extremely green distillery. So we're now coming into the magnificent main barn of the farm, which is the most beautiful building here. If you look around, you can see a wonderful roof. These walls have been here since the 1860s, and this is where the distillery will be housed. And we can keep it exactly as it looks now. So it'll be exactly as it looked when it was first built in the middle of the 19th century. In one half will be the brew house, and in this half will be the still house. So very soon we'll have two beautiful gleaming copper stills over there, which will be making our wonderful Lakes malt. And just behind me will be another smaller still, which will make the Lakes gin. The whole building will have a mezzanine floor covering it. So this will allow both the magicians who are making the whiskey to do their work, but also this is where tourists will be able to come through and see the process of how we make our whiskey and our gin. So we're now in one of the old cattle sheds. This used to be a working farm 15 years ago, so it's been unused for a long time now. And you can see where the cattle would have been sitting there, and this will be our main warehouse. So instead of cattle being in these stalls, there will soon be wonderful casks of whiskey. You can see they built beautiful buildings in those days, being a Victorian model farm. And we obviously have to do a lot of work here to cut through the walls to make it a nice big open space. And this will then be primarily the bar and bistro. So instead of feeding cattle, we'll be feeding our visitors. Being a Victorian model farm, those who built it were very keen on putting some beautiful features into the building. And intriguingly, this symbol, a quatrefoil, there must be 20 or 25 of them around the farm buildings. Cool. It's a symbol like a four-leaf clover, which some of you may know is a symbol of good luck. And we hope to have lots of good luck with our new distillery.
All right.
Cumbria, okay.
It's in Cumbria.
Okay, there's another video I want to play real quick from them as well. Just give me a second here. Where is it? Let's see. Here we go.
From the first video, how long ago did they buy the place?
Well, that was 2013.
Okay, thank you. So
if you want the performance of stainless steel, the versatility of cast iron, and the convenience of non-stick, then you want Hexclad.
Hexclad.
I had a lot of money to invest.
Beautiful, beautiful area.
It is beautiful. Look what they did. Oh.
Yeah, so you get to see the before and after.
Yeah. Sherry cask maturation. And it's much nicer than me. Berg. Oloroso. This does taste.
You don't usually get to see this, you know.
I was gonna say.
It's kind of cool.
What?
52.5. It's only slightly more.
Yeah, it's much better.
Yeah.
That's how he's blending with injection.
Yeah. I like this.
One.
All right. So
okay, we're number 5.
That was a little bit of the Lakes Distillery. You could kind of see the before and after. Pretty cool. Obviously, we were talking about it here. A lot of money that went into rehabbing that place, revitalizing it all. So this second whiskey, the reason why I picked it was because it's a similar maturation. It's similar ABV. The ABV is 52%. It is a non-age statement, just like the first one. This one is matured in a mixture of Oloroso and Pedro Jimenez sherry, along with red wine casks. So you get, I did taste this while we were watching the videos, and I get a little bit more kind of a dryness to it, a little bit of tannin. The tannin from the red wine, I think, comes through. So it's maybe not as juicy and fruity as the Berg. But again, everybody has their own notes, and the brand notes are perfumed and fruity with polished oak, red apples, chocolate, and hints of Devonshire cream. The palate has pecans, walnut, baklava, baking spices, candied papaya, and hints of coffee. The finish is vibrant and creamy with toasted brown sugar. So
21.
It tasted much hotter than just a 2.5% difference.
So this is the Whiskymaker's Reserve number 5. So they come out with different numbers. I think they're up to number 7 now, maybe. Just not here in the U.S. at this point.
Figure it out at number 7 and keep it.
That was a cool video. I like that. I like the blending, to see his injection into it and to get his blends. That was very interesting to see. I've never seen that before. I just thought they kind of poured some test tube into another test tube and, you know, passed it around the room, and whoever liked it said, that's it.
I mean, there was a little bit of showmanship in that video.
Okay.
I don't think they all do that, but
I was like, what, a hypodermic needle.
I don't know.
I liked it.
We may or may not have been muted, but when you started the first video, both Ann and I were laughing because it reminded us of the House Hunter episodes in France where the English come over. And, you know, it's like they buy a house, it has 3 walls, it has half of the roof, and, you know, 2 months later they put a door in.
or the country pays you 60 grand to come live in their village.
Dinner.
You've seen like in Italy, and there's some places around where they're begging people to move back.
Well, obviously there was a lot of money that went into this. Obviously, there's a lot of money that went into that chicken coop. I mean, in the barn, and
well,
it's really pretty.
Their bottles are really fancy too.
Beautiful. Look at that. Yeah.
I mean, look at the bottom of it. It's
Oh,
the shape of
the.
Oh, as a punt. Oh, look at that. There's
the windows.
the windows are like that. Whatever that's called. That's wonderful.
Really beautiful.
And it's on the top of the cork too, or
yep. Yep.
Worth getting the bottle just for that, you know.
It is a beautiful bottle.
It is.
This one is $99.99, so it is a jump up from the Berg.
It tastes better too,
but still pretty good.
Charles, a clarification question for tonight. All of the high coast, that's the Sweden drams, and then the other three are all England, right?
Yep. You got it.
But Jeff, they're from 3 different English distilleries.
Right.
There was a Bimber in the Advent calendar.
So we have
all so 1 Swedish and 3 English.
High coast, and then there's 3 different English distilleries.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's nice.
All right, so I'm curious. The first 2, let's do a little keep track. Who won the first round?
The Swedes. I'm getting
England.
England.
Hold on. Let me do in person first. So 2 Sweden, 1 England. What do you got? Sweden 3, 4, 5. I'll do 6. 6 to 1. All right. What do you guys have online?
England.
3, 4. Where are you at, Dennis?
Hang on. England.
Oh.
Sweden.
All right. You only get 1 vote up there. All right, Jeff, you're the tiebreaker, I think.
I love the Berg, so I love the Berg, so I'm going Sweden.
Oh. All right. Well, it's a gentleman's tie, or whatever you call that.
No gentleman here.
What the baby vote? What the baby?
But no yellow cards either, so we're okay.
I mean, Mike says England for him. All right.
Oh.
So actually, that doesn't change it. What is about Neil? Does Neil have? Well, Neil obviously is going to pick England. I bet.
I'm going home. Obviously, it's England. So.
Wasn't Neil just here tonight?
He picked up his bag. Yeah.
There was a man person running around.
I'm getting no smoking.
Okay. All right. So we'll call that first round a tie. How about that?
All right.
Fair?
Yeah.
I mean,
yes.
It was pretty close.
It's smoky, right?
Smoky.
Okay, we didn't follow directions we didn't get directions, but nosing the glass from the Berg.
Anyway.
I'm getting smoke.
Smoke.
On which one?
On the Berg.
On the Berg?
It seems like residual smoke.
Oh, I got smoke also too, Peter. So I agree.
Holly just nailed it. It's from the sherry. That's typical with sherry barrels that you can pick up some smoke. So soot. It's soot, basically.
This one,
yeah.
I'd rather think of it as smoke than
peat.
soot, but
it's not peat though. It's just
not peat.
No, it's not peaty smoke.
It's smoky
but it's
smoke.
and it says smoky smoke.
Smoky smoke.
I like the peated whiskeys from them.
Smoke sounds better than smut.
All right, so we're gonna clear our palate for this next round. I'm gonna have a cracker.
It's not super new world.
It's like Japanese.
But they are. We're not going back to these again, right?
Nicer, but what's the drinks?
I didn't, but
It's your world. We're just trying to get by in it.
Your whiskey world. It's your journey.
just trying to survive.
Just treading water.
It's the new.
Excuse my chewing.
Your journey. Yeah. You watch The Bachelor.
Very interesting.
Charles, should I bring these out?
That Charles wind up down there.
Anyone want some Fruity Pebble?
That looks
Rice
like it'll
Krispie
mess up
treats?
my palate. What the?
Oh, that's good for the palate.
Yeah,
Okay, so there's a little bit of a story. There's a little bit of a story behind this next whiskey, which is Swedish from High Coast. So I was in Campbelltown last August. I was in Campbelltown actually with Dennis and Steve here online with us tonight. We did a Cadenhead's tasting in their warehouse where they pull straight out of the barrel. So Cadenhead's, for those that don't know, is one of the older independent bottlers in Scotland. Been around for a very long time. And they're located, or their main warehouse facility is down in Campbelltown, and they're part of the Springbank family. They all work together. They are all part of the same group. But when you go do the Cadenhead's tasting there, it's not all Scotch necessarily. Sometimes they pull out of barrels from other countries. I actually had one of my favorite Irish whiskeys, Cadenhead's tasting once, which was wonderful. But I've also had Indian whiskey in the Cadenhead's warehouse. This tasting that we did, though, however, I don't think they did pull any New World. I think it was all Scotch, but we went back to the shop afterwards to see what they had. And unfortunately, Cadenhead's is slowed down a little bit with their bottlings, but they did have this Swedish High Coast bottling available, and they did have a sample for me to try. So I was able to taste this, and I wasn't planning on buying it. I mean, you're in Scotland, right? You're focused on Scotch, but it was really, really good. And I haven't had it since. I bought it at the time and brought it back. So we're able to taste this tonight, which is really fun. This is definitely not a bottle that's available anywhere outside of the Cadenhead shop in Campbelltown. So this is a new American oak. This is a 7-year-old High Coast. This one is 61.8%. So we've jumped quite a bit in ABV with this one.
So the smoke I'm getting is when the alcohol set fire to the barrel?
Or your house.
I think it's when the alcohol hit your nose hairs, Peter.
That would be a concentration.
Definitely doesn't taste 61.8%.
No. So if I need a short finish, I
It's
put like a 17.
So yeah. So remember what we started talking about with High Coast or Box Distillery, the fruity, right? This is really, really fruity.
Right.
I mean, if you're gonna pair something with Fruity Pebble Rice Krispie treats, this would be the Holly didn't even hear that. She's
Heated milk on your cereal.
Put that on your cereal.
Berg, did you say?
Fruity Pebbles.
New American oak. So yeah. It's not. It hasn't held anything before.
It's like floral, pears or apples.
Yeah, definitely orchard fruit.
Yeah,
for sure.
I'm thinking like Granny Smith apples, and you can get
Apples.
like slight cinnamon. I would say like apple pie spice to it.
So there's been the comment that the finish drops pretty quickly on this one. Is that what you guys think?
Cinnamon.
All right. Well, while we contemplate the Cadenhead's High Coast 7-year, we'll watch a little thing on Bimber, which will be our next whiskey. Again, we're going to compare these two and see who's a winner or not. So I'm going to share my screen again, and we're going to watch a little bit of Bimber.
Right at the table.
Charles, did you say that this one doesn't have any peated anything or smoked anything in this Cadenheads?
Yeah, no, there's no peat on this.
Yeah, I love this.
All right, so Bimber, just so you guys know, Bimber is they're not too. How far out of London are they?
There are 2 stops from Paddington.
Okay, so 2 stops from Paddington, so not too far. They're in the middle of kind of a industrial area. You'll see a little bit of that on the video here. Actually, there's another video I want to show you, but we'll watch this first. They're the stills. All right, there's one other video I want to find here. Hold on one second. There was all right, hold on, it was up here.
It's interesting they called it single malt London whiskey.
Yes, they definitely kind of play on that.
Who is Bimber?
Who is Bimber?
Yeah, who is Bimber?
It means something in Polish. I forget.
They're from Poland.
Means something in Polish?
Yeah.
The guys that do it are all Polish.
Yeah.
Ah.
Bimber in Polish. I think it means
it does bring out more of the fruit.
Here, let's
Yeah.
Fruity pebbles.
I can't find the video that
Is that one of yours, Charles? 12 distilleries in 5 days?
Pretty much.
It's a distillery in London.
That's pretty sweet.
Mm.
Ah, my car.
Here in London, in the heart of Europe, decided to set up a small distillery business, which is completely different to the mainstream, to mass production.
Oh, yeah, like the Bimbers.
We've always wanted to produce something natural, made with passion, something you can't find on the market. Construction started back in 2015, and now we have a craft micro distillery. With a main 600-litre copper steel pot, what we're doing here is creating something very authentic, natural, bespoke. Everything from farm to bottle is handcrafted. We only use natural ingredients, and therefore here we're able to tweak things, change the recipe. One day we can produce one flavour, the next we can mix botanicals and produce something completely different. And that's what makes us extraordinary. It's just something the big guys can't do. Later in 2015, we started producing the first batches of our London dry gin, but it was after we conducted our in-depth research that we found it. An old, original, traditional recipe based on premium wheat vodka and natural botanicals. Each season, we only source the best spices based on their quality, which we carefully select from all over the world. We macerate our blend of 10 botanicals in the spirit overnight in a copper steel pot. Then we distillate everything again to remove the bad head and the tail to get into the heart of the finest London dry gin. After that, nothing except water can be added. We are very proud of our infused vodkas, which are made only from natural fruits, cherries, blackberries, blackcurrant, and a mix of summer fruit. The production has to be made with a lot of care, expertise, and knowledge about the blending and the timing. We're constantly testing the mixture and waiting for the right moment when the spirit absorbs the right amount of the fruit flavour. Our oak-aged vodka recipe comes from Poland, where it all began over 400 years ago. We fill our barrels with high-quality vodka, infusing it with a pinch of selected botanicals, and then aging it for some time to let the vodka develop natural aromas, colour, and a smooth flavour. To age our vodka, we use
I don't want to hear about vodka anymore.
Each barrel is...
Sorry, guys.
No, they were talking about
But Charles, there were two interesting things there, to the extent I could decipher. One is that the vodka has a pinch of botanicals in it.
Yeah.
I wasn't quite sure what they were doing with fruit.
Yeah. Well, they were doing their thing.
Well, were they making flavored vodkas?
They were infusing it. Kind of the old Polish style, but like I've seen a lot of wheat vodkas like that, where they actually put the wheat in there directly. But obviously, when you're taking it off the still at such a high proof, you're going to lose a lot of that flavor. But this Bimber bottling that we have now, Anne and Patrick Carroll were just there not too long ago over Christmas time, and these releases at Bimber, especially the single casks, they sell out like in a day. It's crazy. So we're pretty lucky to be able to get some of these in the US because they're very hard to get at the distillery now. It's amazing how, you're in a big city like London, and where there's obviously big population, and you're going to have high demand, especially for single cask releases. So it's pretty hard to get your hands on these. But this one here, this is an Imperial Stout cask. So it's ex-bourbon initially, and then finished in stout casks. There were 1,650 bottles of this. So quite a large number. This one is 51.2%. So we dropped down in ABV quite a bit.
Still like the Sweden better.
They're just cool guys. They're just guys trying to make it, and they're not really fancy.
Really taste the stout.
Is there a retail price on this, Charles?
So we don't have it anymore. I'm trying to.
So legal issues.
I'm gonna look up what it was though. I got it.
Okay.
Yeah,
whatever it means.
I don't know.
It's interesting with the after the Bimber's been in the.
This one was only 105.99, so not bad.
How much? Sorry.
Repeat that, please.
105.99.
As it's been in the glass, I'm now getting a bit of the
root beer,
what I think might be the stout influence.
So
I didn't get that initially.
The stout comes from a brewery called Brew by Numbers. Must be a London brewery. But they first laid down their casks in 2016. First single malt was released in 2019. Definitely grain to glass mentality. This Bimber is their Club KLUB release, which is first offered to members, and then it's sometimes released to the public if there's still bottles available. No age statement on this.
Okay, great. I feel like I'm drinking root beer.
Yeah.
Root beer is what I'm getting. Without the bubbles. Thanks, Diane.
Yeah, we're getting. I definitely get coffee notes.
Coffee, but it's hot though too.
Chocolate, coffee, yeah.
Root beer.
Spice, because even it's a little smoky when it first
smoke.
Now go back and nose the Cadenheads. Just nose it. Don't taste it after you've had the Imperial Stout.
Oh,
Ooh,
sweet.
So flour.
Yeah.
Isn't that
So
different?
Sweet and flowery, right?
Yeah.
Almost like honey.
Like
Nice.
sweet.
Yeah, honey and the apples are coming out more.
Yeah.
It's
It's so much better. Oh my God.
the nose now. If you go back and forth between the noses.
It's just not working.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
This one.
A lot of, you can't.
Bimber?
miss Stout. You can't.
If you like
If you drank
stout,
stout.
this is a really
I
great
like Stout.
whiskey for
The
sure.
Stouts that are coming out now are
Thank you.
incredible.
Stouts, I like the milk stout.
Stout in it.
Those are really nice.
It's put in a stout cast. So they age the beer in stout? I mean, stout in a wooden barrel. Do they age? I'll ask a silly question. They aged, the beer was aged in a stout barrel? And then I don't understand.
The beer was aged actually in an ex-bourbon barrel.
Okay,
Yep.
Why we're not,
okay, next
we don't
bourbon,
know.
and,
Yep. And then the whiskey went into the
right, okay, I
Stout.
got it. Thank you,
bourbon test.
thank you, yeah, right, just like,
To bring up the ABV, right?
way to kill a stout.
These are pretty hard to compare.
Yeah.
These are very different from each other.
Hugely different. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, I mean, it's Cadenhead.
Or B,
I don't know.
one
I
or
love
two.
guys trying to
Yeah.
make a go of it. Like,
It smells great. It tastes good, but then it just like doesn't
Disappeared like
It
my
disappeared.
finish. Like,
Yeah,
it's really low.
My finish is low, but the rest of it is great. Like I just want it. I'm like,
It's
oh,
also
like
like a
it
different weight
smells,
class.
smells great. It is. I know different.
But I'm with you. It's like you can't. Given the
You
finish
get
is one
one
of the scores, you can't start.
They're very difficult to compare. That fruitiness from the first one, the Cadenheads, is
I mean, it's still in the UK.
I don't know. It's interesting. Hey Holly, on the Cadenheads, that it's such a fruity.
I actually jumped into Bimber, so I haven't had.
You haven't had you got to try it. You got to try a little bit of it. Where does that fruitiness come from, though? Is that like true esters? I mean, it's
How was
or
it matured?
it's New American Oak. 7 years.
What's the name?
It's Cadenheads. Yep. I just
having a problem.
They're doing homework, moving some furniture. There was a kid crying a minute ago.
You must be you're in school. You understand that.
No, I have kids, but they're older than the crying phase.
all right. So let's ask the online group before Holly tastes. We'll start with the online group. So where are we at with the round two? Oh, it's
3 or 4.
Dave Tobias says it's a draw. Okay. All right. So we got Larry says England. Mike says Sweden, England. So that's a draw. So we're 1 up England. Dennis?
Cadenhead.
Oh, all right. So Sweden. So now Sweden's up by 1. Jeff?
That's Sweden.
Sweden for me. Love that Cadenhead.
You can't see that.
Oh, okay. I saw that. All right. So we're up 1 up on where are we at, Diane?
This was
Unmute Diane.
You are the Bimber? England?
Are we playing? I'm not good at charades. Why don't you unmute yourself?
The 4th one in there.
Exactly.
3 or 4? 3 or 4?
3 or 4.
Because they're trying so hard.
I leave her alone for 1 second.
Minute, it's just like, no, 2 Swedens.
Sweden.
Yeah.
Sweden's up by 2 right now. All right. Peter, Ann, where are we at?
We each have a half towards Sweden.
Oh, 3 up Sweden. All right. Larry?
Oh, I went with England.
Oh, you went with England. All right. 3 up. All right. So where are we at?
England.
So 2 up.
England.
1 up.
England.
0 equal. England. 2 up England.
Oh, scored Cadenhead's better.
All right. 1 up England.
Charles is the. It's all down to the finish.
We have another draw.
Charles, where are you? Charles, what's your vote?
Win lose.
It's gonna go down.
I'm not going to say, but we're at a draw.
It's like a soccer match.
Howard.
Coward.
I've never been called that in a tasting before.
I didn't do it.
Charles has never met anything.
Hey, Larry, I have a question for you, though, while you're calling me a coward. Next week, are you here?
Yes. Oh, no. No.
Oh, okay. You need me to ship next week? The raising glasses?
Yes.
Because you had chosen in person, so I wasn't sure.
Oh, that was a mistake.
Okay. All right.
Sorry.
Good to know. All right.
Good catch. I appreciate it.
No problem. All right. I think we really need to clear our palates for this
You guys
last.
had a lot of stout finish whiskeys.
Friendly countries.
Have we? Anyone? I have not.
Just the Lagavulin.
Right.
Wow.
That's all I've had.
The Lagavulin.
I
didn't know that.
I'm sure there's. We have
I don't want the stout.
finished right now.
Right.
Careful.
Whatchamacallit? What isn't, and I know this may cringe people's ears, but isn't one of the Jameson stout finish?
Right.
All right. Clear your palate. Clear your palate. Clear your palate.
Yeah, I wish they did more.
I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm kind of lost on that one. Supposed to be.
Okay, I just got a chance to finish Anne's
Half pour.
Bimber. The longer it sits in the glass, the more stout I get out of it.
Yep.
Salty and sooty and.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
interesting.
the stout does come out when it sits. Yeah.
Mhm.
I love that. Should have bought it when I had it.
And that,
There's definitely-
there's a bit of a smokiness too.
My wife said move.
I know.
But I mean,
I turned it off, never turned it on again.
I like that. That Bimber is pretty darn good.
there's definitely going to be a different.
Okay.
presentation, different. it's gonna
But
be
they did
different.
this, they did that format.
So we're gonna go now. We're gonna finish up with
American's High Coast.
the Scotch Malt Whiskey Society.
That's why I said that. Walked off to look for America's High Coast 7-year.
I'm in the still
We got it.
right there to get the name. They're moving.
Okay.
All right, I gotta pull up my info on these bottles here.
They couldn't afford space.
The square footage. Yeah.
So, how much was it?
Did you get your?
How?
Dude, you gotta change that. That's smart.
Okay, so we're gonna start off with Sweden again.
You ever wake up in the morning, you don't know what happened the last 2
We are doing another 7-year-old Swedish.
That was my next question.
It's so big and there's
From airplay.
All right, so let me read. What I'm gonna do before we taste these next two. All right, everybody gotta be quiet for this. Before we taste our next two, let me read about both of them. So we kind of have a background, and then we can taste the first one, and I'm going to play a video on Cotswolds, which is our second one. But let me read about these first so we know what we're talking about. All right, the first one is from Sweden. This is a High Coast. This is the second cask that the Scotch Malt Whiskey Society has done. This is number 144.2. So the distillery is 144. It's cask number 2. This one is called Walked Off to Look for America. This is in a charred new oak barrel. It was distilled September of 2012. This is 62.3%. There were only 60 bottles in the United States. It says a uniquely American sweetness at first, nosing, root beer floats, emmental cheese, honey roast, sweet potato, cocoa powder, buttermilk icing, and warming paprika. A total delight. Further notes of dried sage, spicy fennel sausage, red chili jam, and wild strawberry. A vivid fructose juiciness. Again, think fruit, fruit, fruit. Think High Coast fruit. With water, we got malt, extract richness, cooking oils, coconut water, chocolate, porter beer, and soft earthy wood spices. The neat palate initially offered us pumpernickel bread with treacle, spiced dark fruit chutney, sweet navy rum, mulled plum wine, spiced orange peel, and lightly smoked jasmine. Blah, blah, blah. Further notes of Thai basil, chili powder, and maraschino juices. All right, let's talk about Cotswolds real quick.
Okay, Charles.
Uh-oh.
I don't speak English, British. What is buttermilk icing?
Exactly what it sounds like.
Yes.
Thank you.
Batter.
What? Maybe I should have said why, but never mind. Continue. I'll be quiet.
All right. So the next one we're having is from Cotswolds, which I'll play a video from. The Cotswolds bottling is only 0.1% ABV different. It's 62.4. So again, very high alcohol. This one's 4 years old. This is in a first fill barrique and then in a shaved, toasted, and recharred barrel. This one's only 4 years. So this one, let's see, February 2016. Again, only 60 bottles in the US. The nose was sweet and fruity with vanilla and fudge joining honeydew melon, baked oranges, and mango, while toasted pine nuts and macadamias merged with roses and apple blossom. Palate delivered a big hit of spice with a balanced sweetness that suggested nut chocolate, vanilla sponge cake, and icing sugar. Ripe mangoes and satsumas followed on the palate with licorice and chocolate orange before hints of camphor and spearmint rounded out the finish. All right, that one's called Orangudram. Instead of orangutan, it's Orangudram. All right, so now we have a little bit of info on these two whiskeys. I'm going to let you nose them and taste them. I'm going to share a video on Cotswolds. Just give me a second here.
What was the first one called? Find America?
Walked off to look for America.
Into another one of these.
What's that? No, I have not. I just opened these bottles today.
That's the first or the second?
Not today, actually, because I did the kits, but I haven't tasted
new
these.
product. Grammarly's tone suggestions.
All right, hold on. We got an ad. We got an ad.
Approach to win.
Here we go. Here's Cotswolds.
What did you say the ABV on this one was?
62.4.
I'm Dan Shore. I'm the founder and the owner of the Cotswolds.
Lavender.
In New York City. I lived in Europe for the past 25 years. 8 of those I've lived in London, working in investment banking. In 2011, my wife and I bought a small farmhouse in the North Cotswolds, and we fell in love with this area. A few years later, we decided to move out of the city altogether, and I thought about what I could do that was a complete change.
Noses are actually
something that I loved, something I could be passionate about, and whiskey certainly fit the bill. I've been a lover of single malt for many years, and what I think I love most about whiskey is not just how it tastes, but what it stands for, where it's from, how it's made. And what I hope is that all of our spirits reflect the beauty that is the Cotswolds.
Our Cotswold single malt whiskey is truly a product of the beautiful surroundings our distillery sits in. Every grain of barley we use comes from local farms, where our small group of farmers grow varieties especially suited to distilling. When the barley is harvested, it's taken to Warminster, Britain's oldest operating maltings. The malting builds up sugars in the barley, and it's those sugars that will turn into alcohol here at the distillery.
Which is not.
The next step is to extract the sugars.
Yes.
We mill the grain, then mix it with hot water in our mash tun, drawing out the sugars and flavours from the barley into the water. This sweet, malty liquid can now be fermented. We'll use yeast to turn the sugars into alcohol. It can be done quickly, but we take our time. It takes several days for the alcohols and flavours to develop fully. Once fermentation is complete, it's time to extract all the flavour and alcohol that we've created. So we begin distillation in our pair of beautiful copper pot stills. Heating the brew up releases the alcohols and flavours, which we collect and then distill for a second time, allowing us to select the exact flavour profile we want for our spirit. The whole thing from start to finish is controlled by hand. Our team of distillers use innovative ideas and traditional equipment to coax a beautiful, fruity and smooth spirit from the grain. This new make spirit will eventually become our whiskey, but to get there, it needs to mature in casks. Our casks are the best you can find. High quality wood and innovative cask types that build up incredible colour and flavour in the spirit as it matures. Bourbon barrels from Kentucky, conditioned red wine casks from Portugal, and sherry casks from Spain, each giving a different profile to the whiskey. And all we can do is sit back and let them mature. Thankfully, we have something delicious to enjoy while we wait, our Cotswolds Dry Gin. We set out to make a classic London dry that would also reflect the stunning countryside that produces. Our 9 botanicals capture just that. Plenty of robust juniper for a proper gin, with a touch of lavender from Snow's Hill, just up the road from the distillery. Combine them with fresh citrus peel, some spices and bay leaves, and you've got a perfectly balanced gin, robust and full-bodied enough to stand up to a G&T, smooth and complex enough to sip neat or enjoy in cocktails. It's a traditionally made gin. We put the botanicals and pure wheat spirit into the copper pot stills and distill slowly. This ensures we extract maximum flavour and essential oils from the botanicals. The distilled gin rests for a while to let the flavours come together before being blended with filtered water and bottled here at the distillery. Nothing further is added, no artificial flavours or colours, just an expertly crafted gin. When mixed with tonic or ice, botanical oils are released, creating a beautiful pearlescent cloud which is unmistakably Cotswolds. And it's not just gin and whiskey that we make here. In our busy research and development lab, the team are constantly coming up with new ideas. Everything from different gin recipes to our own take on our favourite spirits from around the world. We have a wealth of seasonal produce grown in the Cotswolds, and so we're forever experimenting with new flavour combinations in the stills. Many of these small batch spirits and liqueurs are only available here at the distillery. Our distillery is a busy place. We do everything here, developing new ideas, distilling and maturing spirits, blending and bottling, and then shipping it out from our patch of the Cotswolds all around the world. Taking the time to make the highest quality, outstanding natural spirits isn't easy, but we believe you can taste our dedication.
One of the greatest things we've done here is put together a world-class team here in the North Cotswolds, sort of in the middle of nowhere. And the pride of everyone in what they do and what they've been able to accomplish is clear to everyone. These days, people care a lot more about how the products they consume are made. And what this place is all about is being in a beautiful part of the world, loving what we do and making exceptional spirits.
Good.
All right, so there we go. Let me stop this. Stop the share. All right, so obviously these are both pretty high alcohol expressions.
This is a metabolism killer. This is a metabolism killer.
Oh, whoa, what's going on here? Jesus.
Over 40 and running
Hold
the
on.
treadmill endlessly and eating salads all day.
Hold on. All right, there we go.
That wasn't the thing about the cameraman with the girl. No, that was a different video next.
That video was targeted to me.
Okay, sorry. I know we
get that one all the time.
well, we've done a gin tasting with you in Japan, so it's not that far off. They were describing their gin with the orange, with the fruit, citrus peels and the bay leaves. Did they have any juniper in it or not?
They have to.
You have to. What Genevieve would, you know.
Well, no, I don't know.
I don't know what they do.
Whose definition there is, but either it was in the womp that I couldn't understand or not. But okay.
So my suggestion is this: before we even discuss anything, is when are you going to do the tour to England distilleries?
So Anne,
yeah, it's a possibility.
That's it. Sign me up.
Wait, hold on. We got.
Hey Anne.
Yeah, Anne.
bought a bottle of the gin
From Bimber, though.
from Bimber.
Yeah.
You have a bottle of gin?
It's fantastic.
Well, we'll be over. Invite us. We'll come.
Share you. We'll share. You need to do it straight, but we'll share.
Oh, Lucas is on the video. Oh no.
You got it.
Sorry.
Thanks.
He wasn't
Yeah,
here.
he'll be on
the video.
Lucas wasn't here.
No,
Lucas isn't here.
I just didn't want to sit in that seat next to Charles.
Oh.
But it's a very interesting discovery of these brand new, not brand new, but these English distilleries. And we had some of these English distilleries in the Advent calendar. And I found them very fascinating. And I find there's so many more developing over the past number of years in England that we should investigate these as a club.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the
You gotta just let go.
oh, I can't let go. There we go. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So the whole purpose of this tasting,
Great.
obviously, to introduce you to new distilleries that you didn't know anything about or little about, but then to also realize how good whiskey can be from countries that we don't normally get whiskey from. So, you know, High Coast, obviously, it's 3 different whiskeys. They're all with the same distillate. They have that same backbone, so you're just playing around with different types of barrels or whatever.
My favorite tonight was number 1.
But I have to say, on these last 2, for personally for myself, they're about even for me.
That's what I think too.
You know, that's kind of what's fun about this, is that you can take 2 countries like this and actually not have maybe a standout, because you can find expressions that equal each other in a way.
I think the last 2 were a great pairing, because I agree with you, Charles, that they had the same tasting to me.
Well, this is not a question of self-selection bias, but since both were by Scotch Malt Whiskey Society, were they choosing something that's whatever whatever they choose their criterion? So they would have chosen things that were close to begin with.
Well, I don't know. I truly believe they chose these casks without even thinking about the other distilleries or, you know, where they're getting other barrels from. They're really trying to find what's the best expression from that distillery to showcase what that distillery can do. So there's no, they didn't do it for comparison reasons by any means.
Their criterion for choosing some different distilleries may have narrowed it. Oh, okay, I'll accept it.
So one of the things that we kind of realize with independent bottlers sometimes is that they do have a style. You know, that they do pick casks that might be similar, but the Scotch Malt Whiskey Society has picked so many casks over the years that that's not something that they focus on. You know, they're just looking for like what's really representative of that distillery or what's unique maybe from that distillery. You know, like, so we see a lot of Glenfarclas that's in bourbon casks, not the typical sherry cask that Glenfarclas comes from, because they want to showcase a different side of Glenfarclas, you know, still really incredible, but not the traditional. So, you know, it's either going to be traditional or it's going to be really off the cuff. So,
You get 2.
all right, so we'll start online. I'm sure everybody's been able to taste both of these at this point.
Actually, I like
So for the last 2, round 3. All right, so we got, Larry says Sweden by a hair. So that doesn't really count. We'll just call that a draw. Steve says dead heat. All right. What about Dennis? Is it dead heat for Dennis?
I think I'm like.
All right.
So
what about Jeff?
And then they add the wood. So all the so young, they don't
He's
get
got
it.
a weird look on his face. He's contemplating.
Yeah, I think England, like wins by a nose.
2 for England. All right, from Myrtle Beach.
Oh, no.
England by a nose. All right, so we got a 3. England's got a slight lead right now. What about David and Diane?
Maybe it's not artistry, but it's passion.
It's passion, and they're really nice.
All right. So for Dave and Diane, Dave is for England.
No, I'm for England also.
All right, England's still in the lead. Anne and Peter.
I guess we're tied.
All right, Dave, Tobias.
England.
England. All right, England's still in the lead a little bit. All right, so we're gonna go to the in-person here. Where we got? Sweden. England. Even. All right. England.
Sweden by 1.
Sweden. Even.
The last one, the high coast, that's Sweden.
Sweden. All right, we're tied again.
No, we have to go to extra innings.
Shootout.
I don't think you took the English vote.
I love it.
Oh, Neil broke the tie.
Oh. And what did Neil say?
He said England.
Oh, okay. That new make just in those.
So when you
But-
get there, they let you.
All right. So,
Oh, wow.
okay, maybe England was slightly favored tonight. And High Coast was up against 3 different distilleries, so you know
I could drink
you
this.
can't
Starting out good.
give them a hard time for being up against 3 different distilleries.
This was a lot of fun, Charles. Good choices.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Charles, I got a question about the
So-
sweetness of High Coast.
Yeah.
Then they age it.
Yeah.
I don't know what you went over with High Coast.
Well, we went over just a little bit of their
I could
production,
buy a bottle of this.
which leaned towards the fruitiness with the esters and the yeast.
The clear wort,
Yep, clear wort.
The
We
French
talked about
yeast.
that. French yeast. Yep,
the cuts.
the cuts.
It's a very
Okay.
high cut for unpeated malt.
So the high cuts for unpeated
They
malt
cut early.
with High Coast is what really brings out that
I mean,
fruitiness.
it's starting well.
Oh, okay.
So
Starting with this.
remember I said at the beginning, 13 minutes into their distillation, they're cutting.
Well, it's actually the bottom comes, they put it in tails.
So
for reference,
oh, actually it's the tails.
And most people go for like
Sales are-
That is
Okay, so they go to 67 on their on the hearts.
So they're cutting early.
They're cutting early on the hearts into the tails.
Really?
So they're getting rid of a lot of tails and
Yeah.
more heads.
Yeah.
But they did say something about having the heavier, getting rid of the heavier spirits.
Yep. Yep.
Which means they would mature faster also.
Everything's consistent.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's possible.
Maybe they'll change.
But again, in that climate, it's not going to mature that much faster.
True.
You know,
Like in Sweden or
it's cold, it's
Sweden,
colder
yeah.
in Sweden
And they're so fun.
than in England. So yeah.
Charles, could you say that again? You're saying High Coast cuts more into the heads and then like
Yeah,
gets
so
rid of
they
stuff that's
cut it-
closer to the tails, or
So there's less tails.
Yeah, so they're
Yeah.
cutting away early.
So there's less tails.
That was my first infinity bottle. Now it's empty.
So
that would drive up ABV, right?
Nah,
Everything with it.
I mean,
This is the basis
Tails
of
are
all
the
the.
heavier alcohols.
Doesn't take long with those little.
tails are heavier than the heads,
It's actually the lightest, 'cause they're
but
cutting
ABV
alcohol
wise.
early. No, ABV, they're the highest. in
So if
alcohol.
they're cutting tails early, though, that would be higher ABV.
Yes, yes, so they're cutting, they're actually.
Tails are high ABV.
It's a lot of most.
I don't know.
Yeah, so-
They bring the wood back, they ship it.
Leaving out more fusel oils.
So they're taking off the still at 67%, so a higher ABV. Whereas most distilleries are 63, 64. So they're cutting early
It feels good.
To avoid the heavier.
to avoid the heavier alcohol. The heavier alcohol?
The heavy alcohol would be in the tails.
Yes, what you're saying.
Okay.
The
If you've
texture.
ever tasted the tails, it's like tastes like metallic and it's like very oily and
Yeah.
it's funky.
Yeah, so they're avoiding the funkiness of the tails.
But to answer your question, Jeff, they all of it gets proofed down with water.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
But
But it will lead to flavor changes. You know, fruitiness. Fruitiness will come from cutting early, for sure.
But a lot of people do not.
You're keeping more of the early on esters and all of that, and you're removing some of the oils and the funkiness that come from the tails.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they should be proofing down to what, at least 65 before they put in the barrel, right?
63 usually, somewhere around there. Yeah.
Lots of warehouse.
All right, guys, we're gonna probably cut out here just since we're wrapping up our tasting, and it's probably hard to hear me at this point. I don't know how loud it is for you guys, but high ABV whiskey brings out a lot of volume here.
Charles, this was a wonderful evening. I mean, the comparisons, you know, the northern Sweden, near Uppsala, or it's a great, beautiful area, and Cotswold. This was in England. Fabulous. Just thank you. It was just great.
No problem. Yeah, we'll do more New World for sure. As the years.
So when we have the Advent calendar next year, we have some idea what we're doing.
Yeah, or no idea, which is
again.
Thank you.
All right, guys, we're gonna
Thanks, Carl.
good night. Enjoy your night.
Good night, all.
See you next week.
Bye.
All right.
See you next week.